Well wishes in the house. We are live. Well wishes just happened to hop in the car. Perfect timing. How's it going, buddy? Yeah, it is perfect timing. Do not watch video while you drive. Yeah, should I say that? Should I actually I think I should be able to say that, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It's been a week, Dylan.
Feel like
It's been a bloody week, man.
Yeah.
3 videos. I'm doing 3 videos next week.
Oh yeah.
Um, I've been going elbow deep into handheld recorders.
Yeah, you and me
Oh.
both.
Oh man. Did you figure that out about the Zoom H8?
No, I just messaged them today. I should talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I wonder if anybody's really interested in the inner workings of all of the actual usability of these things that nobody uses outside of the recorder. Like I never really get into some of the multi-track features and stuff like that you can do on those things.
No, and I don't know. You gave me this guy, and I kind of I was using it, thinking about using it more as like a portable studio in a bag kind of thing, like real basic. Has decent enough gain or decent enough preamps on it to be able to get by with, again, going over to some musician's house and just recording into this, having some preconceived backup tracks loaded up in there, plug a mic in, a good mic on a stick in a closet, boom, we're good. And yeah, well, the weird glitch that I found is getting the bottom of it is so in here you can assign, it's got 10 tracks or 8 tracks just lined up, and you can assign files to those tracks, like because you can overdub on this, like you can record something in one mic and then stop and record over again something else in a different mic and like kind of overlay them in the mixer. And so I tried loading in some backing tracks from Pro Tools to be like, hey, so if I was going to use this to overdub, this is how we do it. And it won't let you assign stereo files. You have to load the left and the right separately and then link them separately to 2 tracks. I'm like, well, that's a weird thing. And it doesn't really explain why. It just says invalid file.
That's weird.
Yeah, and I did try updating it. Also, the one of the little clasps on the back of that thing, Aiden, it snapped off, and I was trying to get it off.
Oh, of course it did. Of course,
yeah.
that's the Zoom plastic at its best.
Yeah, it fits fine on the top. It still stays real snug there, but it won't go into the back port anymore. So if I take it off, I just got to throw it in a bag somewhere.
SR375, kind of curious on how protected the components are on those mobile kits. So if you're talking the H8, the H8 is kind of the new generation of Zoom plastic. Oh, by the way, hello to everybody. Red Cabin, we got a like it UK evening from the UK. How's it going? So the new generation of Zoom plastic is a no drop feature. You cannot drop new Zoom products. This is the Essentials series that I'm running 3 videos next week because Zoom actually asked me. They're like, hey, we'll send them to you, but you got to do 3 videos. And we're about to find out if that bites them in the ass next week. So these things, this new Zoom plastic, it's a no drop feature. Like literally these things, you can hear that.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing with the H8. But when you get into the older generations, this is the H5. You talk about the components, how the components are, like the jack fatigue and all that stuff. These jacks on the H5 have been going since 2014. The H5 was 2014, and no problems whatsoever. None whatsoever. And these aren't even the locking jacks. All of Zoom's new stuff has locking jacks now. The H8 has locking jacks, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they've really jumped on the locking jack. I think for that reason, especially handheld recorders, you need that little bit extra security.
The one thing I did find funny, I don't know if you noticed this, Aiden, but on the what is it, the EXH4, that there's another 4 inputs you can get on the top of this, which you need to update the firmware to do that. Fun fact. It's got a separate power input for phantom power.
Yes. Yeah. You've got to actually. Well, it's just
So if you want to run the unit on a battery and the head on phantom power, you need 2 separate USB micro cables.
Oh, I'm going to blow your mind even more. So those things, the H8 was released in 2020, and kind of on old infrastructure and Zoom. They also wanted it to be Bluetooth ready, so they made
Yeah,
these like
I see that. Yeah,
yeah
the little nub. Yeah,
a spot for a Bluetooth dongle.
I'm like, what is this? The Nintendo 64?
And
Like,
and they haven't updated any of their new products to
this
not
is
take a
funny.
Bluetooth dongle, which that's part of the third video coming up next week. Anyways, 3 videos. This is why I named this live stream. Should I do 2 videos a week? I blew through 3 not not overly difficult videos, but there were technically reviews. Although there wasn't much to review on these new Zoom products because they're pretty stripped down interfaces, blah blah blah. But I mean, there was a lot of B-roll and stuff like that. So I got 3 out of the way pretty comfortably this week. So I'm thinking I can comfortably move to a 2 video a week system and do a third video for my second channel, which I'm planning on ramping back up next week. I'm actually I've been working on podcast editing for a little bit, and I don't know when I'm going to again. So I figure I might as well use my time for that. But yeah, so 3 videos wasted me, but I'm thinking like a second video during the week for I don't know, something not review related. I'm gonna see what it's like, and I'm probably gonna put out a poll to see what people think what I should be doing with that extra video. Let's catch up here. We're kind of running behind here. Some of those features are really for film video. Hey guys. Yeah, you know what? And I gotta give Zoom credit. They've been cornering that like for some time, and they've been taking a lot of the features from the F series and kind of whittling them down for the H series.
Yeah,
I'm really
I don't know, Aiden. You never know. There might be a company out there.
yeah.
Not
Oh no, I
this-
have a feeling. No, I actually think actually, you know what? I'm gonna save it for Monday. I've got an interesting opinion on that. That'll be in Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday's video. We'll see. They're all coming out like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So audio miscreants, Gear Junkie 35 in the community pedal board. That's an interesting name change.
Yeah.
This is an interesting conversation to be had. ISR 375. Very disappointing. In my opinion, all mobile gear should be drop ready. Dylan?
Yep. I totally 100% agree. I think also, I want to point this out because we were laughing about this on the phone a little bit. So I will start by saying this is a good product. I like this product. I like the update they've made to the screen. Not everything about it is perfect, but I think for the price that you get a 10 input mixer basically.
Yeah.
A battery powered 10 input mixer at that.
For about 20 minutes until the batteries die. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially turn phantom power on all the mics. But the handheld, handy, right? Handy. That's kind of what the H stands for in H8. If you got 10 XLRs plugged into this thing, you're not handling it at all. you better have this mounted with a threaded screw, because but I don't know at that point again if you could call that a handheld recorder. Now, how would you make a 10 input mixer a handheld? I don't think you could, but at that point, I don't know. Maybe this should almost be in its own tier because I don't really think it counts as an H anymore.
I kind of feel the same way about so this is the H6 Essentials, and this is the basically the exact same body design as the H6, and it's kind of the same even with the H6 because you put 4 XLR cables coming out of the side of this. It's no longer a handheld. Like this becomes unwieldy with 4 XLR cables coming out. However, as just like if you're just using the XY, it is still relatively a handheld. But I think they're also building these to be kind of like on the go mixers more than they are handheld. Once you pass the H4, anyways. I think.
Yeah. The H5, it's a chonky fella. I didn't realize, we got a bunch for work. And I'm like, this is built well. Like, I think this is a solid little unit. Certainly seems less fragile than this thing does.
Oh, the H5 here, this thing is awesome. And I love the rubberized body. It's plastic, but it doesn't feel like it's going to break.
Yeah, you feel confident gripping it. Like it's really good little thing to grip. This thing, you do not feel confident at all gripping it. It's just plastic.
I'm going to expand on this though. So that's an interesting perspective. All mobile gear should be drop ready. But then shouldn't all mobile phones be? Shouldn't
That's true.
shouldn't your phone be? And we go to such great lengths to protect our phones.
Yep.
So what if you went to a great length to get a case for this? What if you actually instead of putting it on the company? I'm not saying that's what should happen, but I'm also saying that I don't think that's an argument you're going to win with companies like Zoom.
No,
really
I
don't.
mean, I think it's still a legitimate grievance. I don't think you'll win it. I think, but again, like a phone. I mean, actually, I think the argument would exist to be the other way around, because if everybody is buying a phone, even people that maybe aren't the best with fumbling technology. Whereas these are professional tools. This is a specialist piece of equipment. So generally, if you're buying this, you probably should already kind of know what you're doing a little bit. And so, if anything, you might find an argument to the alternative that phones should be more padded than mobile gear.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Although in a perfect world, I think all of it should be padded. I think all equipment that is designed to be held in your hand should be IP67, and should be just built solid. I should be able to drop it if it happens.
Yeah, kind of a fail for field use, especially if you're in a rush to require a separate power feed for 48 volts. Yeah, and I don't know why, especially with the Essential series, why we don't have lithium rechargeable batteries in them. Like, you can the size of this body and how hollow it is, as well as the amount of room they've carved out for the 4 AA batteries. Why don't
you totally could put, like, even with these, I mean, obviously with these, like for something like this, I would have said this should have had something like that. And I put in my own lithium cells that I have to manually take out and put on a charger, but it's better than, because those things, as you know, they chug electricity like nothing.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah, again, especially if you're using multiple inputs at once and you're using phantom power on anything, which if you have the condensers plugged in, you automatically are using phantom power on something.
SR375 did love your fader fondling with the last video. Yeah, I felt uncomfortable doing it because there's one where I'm like, oh, and I just like did a really quick shot of it, and then I put it at the very end of the video of me doing when I recorded it, I thought it was going to be super funny, and then I saw it in action. I'm like, wow, that made me uncomfortable. I'm glad somebody appreciated that, though. I do love faders, man. Oh my god, I love faders.
Oh, I love me a solid fader, 100%.
Urshad Sedek, hi from South Africa. I remember you. Been a while since we have dropped in. Zoom's products are so inconsistent. The F3 and H5 feel good, but the H8 feels like a toy. Boy, oh boy, are you wait till you try the Essential series.
You're in good company. Well, yeah, and I think the only reason, like, I can get by the plastic. It's just, again, the kind of the design of it, the big octagon on top of the little, it looks like a fucking snowman. Like,
I think the H8 was because they could. I honestly don't think the H8 was supposed to be a massive,
like the H6 was kind of a happy medium. It had a lot of the same features. You could do overdubbing. It had 4 XLR ins. Was still sort of at the broader end of what you could say would be handheld. Although I would still say you're pushing it a little bit. But it was a nice happy medium. I think this is pushing it. This is kind of getting into, this should be an F. This should be an F8.
Yeah. So, interesting thing I learned about handhelds over the past week. Did you know that the H5 has better EIN than the H6? The H6 came out first. This came out second. And then the H8 actually has the highest EIN of any handheld recorder from Zoom. I did not know that. I was fascinated. I thought they were all at Neg 120. I was fascinated to find that out. So, just in case you're wondering. Interesting channel plans for 2024. Yeah, you know what? I think this is one of those things where I'm kind of finding out what I can do with this, not just this channel, but with my own workflow, and finding ways to develop content in a different way rather than just the usual. And you've probably noticed some of my videos, the style, the methodology of the videos, even reviews, have changed quite a bit. And I'm doing that to break out of the set chapter mold of videos, because I just have people skimming over the specs, right? Where then why am I putting specs second, where that's at the middle of the video? People are just skimming over it. Why are we talking about specs? Why don't I just have specs on the screen? If it's important to you, you can pause the video and look at the specs. Why am I dedicating time talking about that? So I've really been trying to take relative feedback from videos and sculpt them into videos that people aren't going to skip forward on. And I think it's been going quite well, but it's also like a matter of like, well, what other stuff do people want? And I've been like writing furiously for this podcasting course that I'm putting out. I think I'm up to 10 videos already on it. And that's just something that's going to be one big package. But once that's done, I'm going to find myself with a lot more time. And I think like a Q&A, bringing that back, doing that maybe on a monthly basis and stuff like that. Instead of a weekly basis, I can kind of save them up for the month and then do one. And then kind of finding other midweek videos that are fun, smaller stuff that maybe wouldn't be a full out Monday video, but I can still have a little bit of fun with. Like there's some microphones that I get that I'm like, am I going to actually do a full Monday video? I don't think so. And I think stuff like that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Red Cabin, I don't have any new models of Zoom recorders queued. Do any of the new recorders operate as USB mics interfaces? My goodness,
Yes.
I'm glad you asked.
Yes.
This thing, which by the way, I can't spoil it. This is Monday's video right here. Yes, this operates as flat out just a USB microphone. The H4 Essentials works as a USB microphone, not an interface. This is an interesting perspective to have. So before, the Zoom H4 used to be an interface. And I believe it was multi-track, if I recall. I can't remember. It's been quite a while since I had the H4. However, now if you hook this up as a USB microphone and you have two other mics going through it, you'll get a stereo sum of all three. So the XY and the two mics. The H6 Essential is an actual interface, which I don't know why they're gatekeeping that one thing between the H4 and the H6. I think they're trying to get people to go for the H6. Like, it seems like leapfrogging the H4 is like kind of their goal. Then why do you create it? I don't know. But yes, so the H6 is the only one that actually goes as the interface. But Red Cabin, please do not pre-order this. I wait till you see the videos. I went on to B&H. This thing, the pre-sale was sold out. The H1 Essentials, it was sold out. And I would really like for people, if you pre-ordered, maybe watch this video and make your decision from there. And that's the thing, like pre-orders before reviews have come out are dirty. I don't like seeing that. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. With all the cables connected, I would worry about cable strain relief and the robustness of the XLR ports.
Yes. Yep.
With these new XLR ports, so you see this brand. I don't even know what the brand of XLR ports is, but these are consistently on everything these days. Zoom really loves these. I haven't had a problem with any of these. You even see these. I believe the Rode. No, Rode has Neutrik. These are not Neutrik. Okay, I thought they were all Neutrik. They're a little bit different. So I haven't had a problem with the Neutrik ones.
I've got, and it's so weird, this like why they've decided to do this. So they have combo jacks on 2 of the 6 main inputs.
Yeah, I know.
And then the other 4 don't. They're just regular XLR female. And I don't like, really just put them on all the ports. They you don't know, especially with 8 different sources, possibly. Like, you don't know what people are going to be necessarily plugging in there. They might plug in a line level device of some kind, even though the podcast app on the unit itself actually has pads in it, which is, I found kind of hilarious. That they would do that on this.
It only takes one user on the end of one of those XLRs to drag it out of your hand. Yeah, I think once again, though, if you've got a bunch of people with XLR mics plugged into this should be mounted. I mean, if this is interface based, it should be mounted, or it should be on a table or something.
Yeah.
The handheld of this is only for like streeters. No,
where I would see this coming really handy is, and again, it's got a very flexible line output. That's they've got their own kind of sine wave generator that you can use to gauge the level going into like something like a camera, for example. And so you can plug this into a camera and use it to mix 8 different lavs. Like if you were just doing a quick streeter or something, and or a panel discussion in a environment that you don't have the opportunity to set up like a separate PC or something for recording a bunch of sources, like you're on the go, you can plug a lot into this. You can plug a bunch of receivers into this, and then you got 8 mics, and you can set a mix on this or record it separately and mix it in post synced up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's that would be really cool. I think that's a really cool use for it. And in that case, like I've got a little threaded piece that I use for the H5 that just lets me mount it with a really strong C clamp to the side of my
yeah,
tripod.
you got the C clamp one. Yeah, I need to get a C clamp, one of those.
Yeah, and those, the clamp, they're solid metal. They'll hold this up no problem as long as you've got it tight. And maybe what I would be inclined to do is to like zip tie, or not zip tie, but like Velcro tie the cables all bundled together around something with weight. So if somebody does yank it, you're not pulling the tripod along with it.
Yeah, no kidding. Red Cabin, on older models, when you plug them into your computer via USB, a pop-up would ask you if you wanted to hear the mic or access the files. Yes, still a thing. You can still USB mic or file transfer. One of the big updates on this that I actually really do love on these things is the accessibility options for visually impaired. It is really good. It is fantastic. Like,
what a neat feature. Because I mean, that's not something that, again, when I was like, oh, well, people are gonna, they must have gotten requests, but like nobody else is doing that I know of.
And I know at least one guy in the broadcast industry, Dave Brown, who
Downtown Dave Brown,
visually impaired and shit like this. Like, and I can imagine like people who are visually impaired or impaired in one way or another have always found their own ways to work around. But isn't it easier if we just did it? Like, it's such a ridiculous concept that's something new in 2024, but really cool. And I like to see that. I hope this is something that they're going to be doing more of.
Well, they're focusing more on the user experience. With traditionally, I mean, and this isn't even just a Zoom thing, but I mean, the black and white 1 by 1.5 inch display for how many years?
Yeah.
Like, some of these companies have never really been focused on user experience. And it feels like kind of now companies, again, like I just operating the Rodecaster Duo for the last little bit, I like the way that Rode has rigged up that operating system. That's a really easy operating system to use. It's very intuitive.
Once you get used to the menus, it's very intuitive.
Yes.
At first you're like, holy crap, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's that initial like, oh, you can dig deep in here. Like I was just talking to my buddy about it earlier, and he's like, oh, I don't like the colors. I'm like, that's fine. You can set everything to blue. He's like, well, what about like the headphone knobs? I'm like, yep, those two.
Yep. Yeah.
And he's like, oh shit. He's like, that's so customizable. I'm like, yep.
Well, and that's a lot of when they first came out. Like the original Rodecaster Pro didn't have. I don't think they left enough back doors into the Rodecaster Pro original. So like they kind of had this framework what they could work around when they built the Rodecaster Pro 2, because everyone was like, we want this for the Rodecaster, want this. They left so many back doors open for the Rodecaster Pro 2. So you want something specific. They're like, all right, we'll work that in. It's like,
well, like it used to be, companies would be like, hey, it's functional, it sounds good, so that's why you're buying it. Who cares that the interface sucks? That's not an important thing. But now I think it's kind of started in the plugin world. Like for years, there were plugin, like Waves was kind of the gold standard of nice to use plugins. And then companies came out like Isotope and FabFilter that started making these really wild, intricate user interface designs. And I think suddenly that kind of started working its way into the hardware world. And now you get to use some hardware. Like I still think that Wheatstone, as a broadcast example, they got to up their game a little bit. Because what the professional tools are turning into on like the music and podcasting side is making like the Wheatstone mic editor like look like archaic.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like there's been so much gatekeeping in the audio community for years. Like gatekeeping on just preamps. You couldn't get preamps over Neg 125 EIN 7 years ago. It was really, or you were paying. And that was the gate, right? Like, oh, you want that? That's professional series. I got in 2017, I got my AudioFuse Studio. It had neg 129 EIN preamps, and I was tickled pink. It was like, oh my god, 70 dB of gain, neg 129 EIN. Oh my god, I'm gonna be able to record anything with this thing. And that was just 2017, man. And that thing
Yeah.
cost me $1,500.
Yeah.
Like the gatekeeping in the audio community, and then it's companies that, like the lower cast companies, I hate to use that term, but the ones that are giving you introductory products are the ones that are going, oh, well, why don't we just put better preamps into it? It just blows my mind that it, and then all of a sudden it's now year over year that the product quality is building. And then
Yeah.
there's still companies being left behind because they refuse to work with it. I don't know. I like it. IT UK has a good question. I don't know. He asked, what are the thoughts on the new Mackie Pro FX 10V3 Plus and the Plus versions of the series? I haven't actually looked into the boards and what you do. I think I can't quite remember what the pluses were. I've owned a few Mackie boards, and they've all been the Pro FX series. The 12.
Yeah, I've got a 12 channel, I think, and it's
Yeah.
it works well. It's very basic, but it works well.
I've never had a problem with Mackie boards. I think the new ones have multi-track drivers, but that was the one issue in the past that I had with them, that you couldn't record multi-track. It was just a some stereo signal, which is fine for live stuff. But if you want a studio mixer, that I wanted some multi-track capabilities. I think they have those. I don't really know too much. I'm every time I do anything that like even touches music gear, people just don't bother watching it. So I think like I would love to get into more of that stuff and review some of that stuff. I think once I have a little bit more time and space for that kind of stuff, as this channel grows, I think I'm going to start dipping into that. And I considered getting the Pro FX 12V3 Plus just to review it, because it was my first video on the channel. It was a Pro FX 12V2. So I think like that would be kind of cute. That would kind of sweet, but I don't know. I'll work on it. We'll see. We do have a new viewer here, Adam Montiel. What camera are you using, Dark Corner? New follower, fellow broadcaster. Love the content. Cheers, man. Thank you for that. A lot of people are going to be very disappointed on what camera I'm using. I'm using a Canon T7i, which is a 8-year-old camera. It's like just the basic Rebel series. It is so good when you put decent glass on it.
I think most bodies are, realistically, unless you're getting something that's like straight up consumer.
Well, nowadays, I love the Canon color science. Like their color science is amazing. Canon's color is great.
Yeah, I'm just even looking at your backdrop right now, like the nuances in like sort of the peach on the wall and the lavender and the light. Like there's a lot of nice tones coming out of your
and
camera.
that's bare. There's no, because this is a Rebel, there's no color correction. It's just like straight up 1080p, 30 frames per second. The glass I have on this is the difference maker, Adam. For any camera nowadays, actually over the past 10 years, good glass will basically turn you looking professional. Good glass and good lighting. So I use the Sigma 18 to 35. What's their Pro series on Sigma? I forget what they call it. But yeah, it's the Sigma 18 to 35 1.8. And it's gorgeous. It's a great lens. It's the YouTuber lens if you have a crop sensor on your camera. It is wonderful. So that's why it looks so good.
$870 damn dollars.
Yeah, US 870. It cost me 1,100 when I bought it.
It's worth it though. Again, like, you know, if you want to get professional results in video and audio, you can skate by with some, you know, you can probably set like a $500 budget of hardware and get everything, mic, you know, everything that you need. But with video, yeah, you got to, for pro results, you need to set down some good initial money.
Yeah, well, and that's just it, right? Like you can start a YouTube channel with a cell phone. You're not gonna have
although I would say, you know, the lighting, I would prioritize the lighting over the glass.
100%. You have the stock. If you just have the stock lens with your camera, go out and spend a couple dollars on Amaran 100D is a great, that's actually my light right up here. I have the Amaran 60D right on this side for a fill light, and that's it. And I have LEDs in the background. I could start splashing more light, get some of the tubes and stuff like that, but this works great. And yeah, this is $500 worth of lights. It's well worth it. Well worth it. SR375. Lots of us use assistive tech to work. I use screen readers a bit. I gotta say, I don't have a lot of products that have assistive tech in them, which is kind of disappointing considering we're in the audio industry.
Yeah.
You think, right? Maybe. I will say the only drawback to these Zoom recorders, if you do need the assistive tech, when you go to actual handheld mode and you're recording with them, you have to turn it off. Your hand will slip over some of the dials or something. And it was happening to me every time I was trying to do a video with these things. I would accidentally like just brush up against a dial and you hear that beep, beep. It's like, son of a. So little things like that. But having a one button silence for it would be wonderful. Like that would be awesome.
Or having a soft, some kind of function key that you could assign to that function if you needed it.
Yeah. All right, Marcus. I've been looking to get a on this one. So he brought up, I believe he was the one that brought up the Allen Heath CQ12T.
Mm.
And this is a new compact digital mixer from Allen and Heath.
Yeah, the CQ, that's the touchscreen job.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've reached out. I've got that, and then there's the other one, the CQ18T, which I'm guessing is just an 18 channel.
It's a bit, yeah, they're the same. There's just more channel count.
I've reached out. I have not heard anything back yet. It can take a little while to get a hold of some of these companies. It's one of those things that, like, I'm kind of in the market for a large format mixer that has more than 4 inputs, just for my own studio use. Maybe not a daily driver, but just something I can use when the time is right. And something like this is very interesting. Like it looks fantastic, but it also gives me vibes of the not Zoom, the one I gave you, the pedal board, the one with all the pedals, the Boss one. This gives me vibes of the Boss board,
the Gigcaster.
Yeah, and it's this. I don't know what it is with companies nowadays. Companies are either putting a lot of effort into the screen tech, or they're putting no effort into screen tech. You've got like the Mackie DLZ Creator screen is gorgeous. The Rode screens on the Rodecaster Pro 2, gorgeous. They're a little small, but they're beautiful. They're really, really interactive. They're not so small that you can't use them. They're like a little cell phone.
Oh yeah, and I love the haptic feedback too. That's
cool. But then you have companies, and nothing against Allen Heath. I know they're not exactly top of the pile, though they do very good. They have very good products. They're kind of like a Mackie style company, I find. Then you see a screen like that, you're like, oh. You guys could have put a little more work into it.
We were looking into that because we've been looking for an interface solution for like a bunch of production studios across the country, like 40 studios in different cities. And so trying to think of a kind of a common centerpiece that we could use that gives us enough flexibility while also being somewhat compact. And we were looking at the CQ12. And the one major, there were a few small, I like it overall. I think it's a good package, but there's no automatic off for the display. And so if you're in like an all 100% use situation, where it's on all the time, basically, which most people kind of are these days, just kind of everything is running. You could have a touchscreen failure. Now, the app that you use to remotely control the CQ12, it exactly mirrors what's happening on the touch display. So theoretically, you might never ever need to use the display on the machine. But if it does fail, there's some user reports of like the firmware just locks up and it's like, whoa, there's no touchscreen attached anymore. I'm not going to turn on. I'm not going to boot. And so that basically renders the remote control kind of useless. But it's, it is a nice unit. If you're okay with having to turn it off quite often, then on and off, when you're not using it kind of thing, then yeah, it's a good unit.
See, I'm kind of getting into the habit of doing that, of turning my gear off when I go to bed.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's bad or not. Like, it's not bad, but like,
Honestly, the jury's out. There's schools of thought on both sides. There's people that say leaving it running, especially digital gear,
yeah,
leaving digital gear running, basically doesn't run it through its paces every time you start it up. So if it's been on for a long time, like a server, just leave it on.
yeah. Well, I'm
Don't.
finding with the newer boards that are very touchscreen heavy,
Yeah.
and that, like, kind of like what you said, is that not that they freeze up, they just kind of all of a sudden just like they're no longer controlling anything. So you got to go and you got to reboot them, bring them back in, and that's fine. But if you turn them off every night, you're fine. But in a radio station, you can't turn that stuff off at night. Like, it's just it does not work. I
Yeah.
do like it is all touchscreen. I really like it. We'll see if I can get them to actually send me one. Probably. If I
It's
have
got
to
the only
buy
thing I
it,
don't like is it's got the ports on the top.
yeah, I
And,
know that drives me nuts too.
well, just for strain relief and just cable strain being
Yeah.
bent down like that, I hate that. My Mackie's the same way and it bugs me.
I do love the music stuff you've reviewed and when you play something as well. Thank you, SR375. Finally.
Finally, our countless attempts to do musical stuff have been worth it.
Well, I do believe, like, I was talking to Painfully Honest Tech. I should know his name. I forget his name off the top of my head. And he was saying, like, with certain types of videos, with headphone videos, you have to put a certain amount out before the algorithm starts grabbing people that are interested in headphone videos. So I think that's kind of the same thing when it comes to music-based stuff. But then if the people that are here already aren't interested in watching it, I don't want to just like start doing music stuff.
No,
Like,
yeah.
so it's kind of like a throwing one out there every once in a while. And then I'm going to hit this like threshold where I'm going to start getting the music people in as well. And then I can kind of, if I'm doing 2 videos a week, maybe one is more podcast, roadcaster style video. Then the next one's more music style video. So I don't know how that's going to go or how I'm going to work that, but I think that's something a unique concept of YouTube is how they do that, how they kind of you're not legit in a space until you've put out a couple videos about it. Thilo Grimm, greetings from Germany. This week I plan to record a live stream and spent the entire last 30 minutes before to switch the USB-C super speed cable back and forth that came with the Rode Streamer X. Interesting. So the super speed cable was not working. That's interesting. I think like this is something that Rode wants to know. Call Rode. You don't have to call Australia. You can email them. They are very good about getting back about that stuff. I've seen a few reports of this. Definitely call Rode. They worked out my problem. Now I'm a little different than everyone else. I get review units. And I believe I got the wrong cable in mine because I get review units, not necessarily like they don't just grab one off the shelf and send it to me. Sometimes they make sure they're working just so it's not shipping something halfway across the world just to have it shipped back and then send another one. A lot of people think they do that to like make sure all the reviewers get the best. No, they just don't want to ship stuff out because they spend a lot of money on shipping, especially when they're based in Australia. And I think I got the wrong cable with it. They've sent me a new one. But if there are problems with the Streamer X cables, email them. And I keep hearing this. I keep hearing people say, "Oh, I had this problem. Did you call support?" No.
Yeah.
Call support.
Yeah. Give somebody a call.
They're literally the best company out of every company I've worked with. The best company has been Rode at getting back to you and fixing your problem. Rode doesn't like fuck around. They just, oh, you have a problem with this here. And I haven't heard any nightmare stories about dealing with Rode support. So, and I know it's a little frustrating to have to call Rode support or any support for that matter. But if you're not going to call them, complaining online does you very little. And I'm not saying you are, by the way. I'm not calling you out for complaining. I'm just saying, like, for the people that do actually go and just complain, and it's like, did you call? No. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't call them before you complain.
No, and I think some people too are like I don't want to be on the phone for an hour waiting for you to give me an opportunity to tell you that your product doesn't work.
Also, sorry, we'll continue that. Thilo, also make sure that the port you're plugging the cable into from the Rode Streamer X is going into a 3.0 port.
Yeah.
That is actually on laptops specifically. You got to confirm they're 3.0. Continue. Sorry, I cut you off there. You're done, I guess. Okay.
Oh no. Yeah, no, that was and you literally interjected like right at the end of the sentence.
Oh, okay.
So I was done. No,
Uh,
but we were just talking about that with the different revisions and how, you know, structurally they're compatible, but electrically they're not always compatible. Like
No.
USB 3.1 Gen 2 and like all these different things. So actually you were asking me about a cable for like USB stuff, and I actually bought a cable this week that was like USB Gen 2 or really chunky. I'll have to send you the link to this.
Yeah,
didn't
I
send me
want some
back
of
that
those.
much, but this is like, yeah, I think USB 3.1 Gen 2 or 3.2 Gen 2, or it's like it supports all the protocols basically.
Gear Junkie, the community pedal board. I love that. The community pedal board. I need to look at what that is. I started with the T3i and I still have it. Love my Canon 5D Mark II. Sigma mates great glass. I never got into the higher end Canon. I used to be, so I'm a photographer as well. I used to do photography years ago, and I was a big Nikon fan. And I had this is the D200. That's how long ago I was a big Nikon guy. I had the D200 and I shot weddings with it. I never did the higher end Canon tier. And now actually I just ordered a camera. I ordered a Sony A7C II,
Nice.
A7C Mark II, or whatever you want to call it. So and the reason I ordered it is because I found the glass for it was used glass. So the 20 millimeter that I wanted, I found for like $400 off. I'm like, yes, I will buy used glass. I do not care. So, and that is one of their top lenses, and I got it for like $900. I was like,
Nice.
yes, please. Adam, the Osmo Pocket 3 has been serving as a good webcam lately. Thanks for the info. Cheers. I'm actually getting I'm getting an action cam. I'm going to be picking one up. I'm actually picking up a couple cameras for, I'm going to be messing around with angles and stuff like that. Also, overhead shots. If anyone's noticed on my videos, my overhead shots that I usually do for my videos are my phone. I just got a message. I use my phone for them. I've got a little device here that I hook to a Rode boom arm, and this is awesome. This is why you see the table shaking. So this hooks to the boom arm, then I put my phone in here and I shoot down. I'm sick of it, so I'm actually using the metal, that pipe maker. I forget what the name of that company. They actually worked with me too. The pipe maker where you can make things, and I'm making like an overhead gear stand that I can put cameras on overhead and
Nice.
have top down shots. Yeah, so I'm getting the action cam for that, just so I can have that. So yeah, definitely those action cams are fantastic, especially if they have the ability to get rid of that fisheye. Some of the newer ones are very, very good at that. First soundproofing, then lights, then camera. Steve, you are correct, sir. External power brick, boo. Yeah, the CQ12T. I think that's becoming the norm with a lot of gear nowadays because they're packing so much in with when you have screens and stuff like that. However,
Yeah, well, just there's major heat considerations. I mean, you know, when you got a big chonky transformer, or even, you know, just a regular like a switch mode job, and you've got a bunch of, again, sensitive things like TFT displays and stuff that is heat sensitive. Like, and again, in such a small package, I'm never surprised. Now I'm impressed now when I see an IEC cable in the back of a piece of gear. Like, I know the Rodecaster, it requires a brick and everything like that. I like that I like that Rode is going with the rounded edges on the, so it's specifically meant for you to wind the cable around it, because that makes like packing the thing up a little bit less cumbersome than having these bricks getting all attached to each other.
Also, the bricks are actually pretty small and pretty wieldy. Like they're not hard to. They're not.
Yeah, they're not hard to manage. I mean, that one for that laptop you gave me, that's a brick.
Yeah.
But
Matt, by the way, noted Oklahoma City basketball player Matt showing up here. Amazing. I know.
What up?
You're not the basketball player. Hot take. I love this. Hot take. Make the 12T a 1U unit and just use an iPad. I think there needs to be more of that nowadays.
Yeah. I mean,
I
Behringer got into it with their X32 rack, and it was a good unit. But I think that, yeah, the ability to have it, because I'm rack based now, and I mean, I don't know, when you get into kind of modular, like I'm going to get preamps, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that, I'm going to get an external EQ. You get into rack stuff, and so once you kind of open that can of worms and you start investing in racks and rack mount pieces, you kind of start to look for things that you can, that you know, that benefit from being put in a rack. Like, this is why I hate desktop stuff. I got too much stuff on my desk. So when somebody's like, hey, here's a piece that you can just plop, no, I want it in a rack. I want it out of the way.
I found the I use the Behringer machine at my old job. Sorry, I'm looking for the buttons here. I use the Behringer for my old job at Element FM, and it like the to just interact with it on an iPad was so amazing. I wonder if we're at a stage now where we're going to be getting units with their own kind of like just a screen. The unit goes on a rack and you just get the screen, like maybe Rode does something like that. By the way, no inside information. That would be cool though. Like, think about that. Like the Rodecaster Pro 3 is rack mounted, or it's just this small thing that sits in the corner of your desk and you get a screen to put beside your monitor, and now everything is right there on the screen.
Honestly, I think we're moving towards, because I think most of these companies, just to save themselves the R&D on the remote wireless display technology, they're more likely to just throw in a Bluetooth unit and into the box, and then just use your phone, because I think it's assumed most people in the industry now have either some kind of smartphone or at least a tablet or a laptop. And so a lot of these things, if it gets down to that, they're just going to use your, like even Avid's fully embraced that with their dock, the Pro Tools dock, that you literally just plop an iPad into. It's got some physical controls, but like the iPad is the centerpiece.
Yeah. We're gonna have to skip through a few of these. Red Cabin says, I put the Rodecaster Pro in my newsroom. Nice. Yeah, those things are fantastic for radio-based operation. Wayne, you mentioned Rodecaster Duo. I just want to say I have a Rode Wireless Go 2s on slider 1 and 2, Rode NTH 100M microphone on slider 3, and Rode NT USB Mini on 4 with the USB-C virtual Bluetooth 2. That's an amazing setup. Ken K Talent. Hi. How's it going, Kay?
Good eye.
We got A&H, more A&H stuff. Matt wants to say what's up. How's it going, Matt? Welcome.
What up?
Gear Junkie got it 5D Mark II for $95 on Goodwill site. Nice. 5D Mark III. Are we already on 5D Mark III? Good God.
Oh my God.
Especially for the EOS M. Lots of fun with old C-mount lenses from old TV cameras. Yeah, that's a lot of fun you can do with that. Red Cabin, I would rather run extra amps through a brick than through my computer, but I have gear plugged in all over, so I don't care.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm horrible. I have like literal like cables all over my floor. I'm not the type of person that every time I'm done one thing, I clean up and then I start the next. I'm usually just like a bulldozer, and then like once every couple weeks, I like clean everything up and start fresh. But yeah, I've got stuff all over the place.
Yeah, in my case, I'm the same. I think next weekend I'm gonna be rewiring all the racks. I've got 28 spaces of rack stuff that need to be rejigged, and I'm gonna move stuff over to. My goal is to kind of try to minimize the geography taken up by the audio runs specifically. So like all digital stuff is gonna go on one side in power delivery stuff, and then all of the audio stuff, because I'm finding the audio lines, as you add stuff in and patch holes with new gear, you don't really think about the overall topology immediately, and then you kind of look at how it's rigged up and you're like, this going there and then that's going over there, and then what the fuck,
what was smoking?
Yeah, well, but you start getting weird buzzes, and tracking stuff down is harder because normally you're really not supposed to cross power and audio that much, if you do, it's gonna like 90-degree angle it, like all the basic kind of rack wiring stuff. But then as you add stuff in over time,
gets ridiculous.
Yeah, and those rules go by the wayside. So and even like little things like trying to minimize any kind of ground loops if you happen to have them. I mean, plug everything into the same circuit. Isolated power ports on conditioners helps too. But like at the end of the day, yeah, there's some ground pins you got to lift in various places, and tracking that down when it's just a mess from hell. Yeah.
If famous Oklahoma City basketball player Matt wants to know, this question is for your guest. By the way, Dylan is actually not a guest. He's actually part of the channel. It's a very unique situation over here. Anyways, this one's for you, Dylan. Have you cleaned your RA27ND ever? I bought a used one. I was wondering how crucial it is to clean and when to clean it. Thank you. I will leave it with you.
If used, I would definitely say I'm not gonna mess with this too much because it is live right now. But yeah, if it's used, I had a used RE20 not long ago, and I took the head off it, and the foam that's underneath this head, bell end of it there, it just was flaking off in little pieces. So, because it had been sitting in an on-air studio for 25 years and people were smoking, and it was it was just a hot mess. And so this one is not in a place like that. So thankfully, this one, I did check it. It's the foam is all still very rugged and intact. There's nothing rattling around inside it. So yeah, I've given it a good cleaning. I clean the grill and everything periodically. I kind of use this just to absorb all my gunk anyway.
Also, I do also want to point out one thing. I was listening. I think you didn't cover this, but if you call Electro Voice and tell them, like, let's say the foam's gone or you need something for that microphone, they will send it to you as long as the microphone is in service.
This mic in particular, I mean, I think this one mic, maybe not this one exactly, but this line of microphones has basically kept them in diapers for the last 4 decades. So, I mean, you know, they will stand by this thing, and you pay for it. I mean, this is like a $700 piece. You know, worth it because it sounds decent. It's built rugged. It's got that sex appeal to it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, also, like, the idea that these things have been running in studios for 25 years, and when they're brought out of service, you just have to replace some of the foam, should tell you the quality of the microphone. This is why audio engineers have put them in radio stations for years. They're absolutely fantastic mics. So yeah, if you do go to clean and you notice like the foam, I had the Electro Voice RE27ND or
was it the 320?
The little handheld one. And I called them because all the foam was gone on that, and it was nasty.
Yeah.
And they're like, we would actually help you, but we haven't made those mics since the 90s, so we don't have anything for you. But they're always willing to help out. They're another company that they back their products. They stand behind them, and those are usually the companies you want to give your money to. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Wayne, with your Canon 5D2, the Canon Connecting Control app, you can USB to an iPad for fantastic user experience. Yeah, you can do the same thing with the T7i. The problem with that app is it's like I set up every time I set up with Canon Connect when I'm doing live streams or whatever on my phone. It disconnects. Sometimes it won't connect. I know that I can actually connect like straight to my phone for it to work. I believe you can use no, I don't think I can do USB out with this one because it's a little too old. I think with the newer ones you can, but through the Wi-Fi, like just connecting through Wi-Fi, it's not a good experience. However, I'm moving to Sony, so I don't think I care anymore. Dylan is a co-host. Yes, Dylan is the co-host of this show. And as the channel grows, Dylan grows with it. So this is one of those unique experiences with this channel.
Yeah, and there's videos coming up too. We're going to collaborate more on. You know, we haven't. Periodically, I will make an appearance in a Dark Corner Studios video. We got some stuff on the docket to come. You know, stay tuned. And so we're going to be doing more of those things, but and even, you know, sometime in the future doing more of these lives in person and not. You know, although this StreamYard thing is really cool.
Yeah, you know what? StreamYard, really, really cool, but you can still do it in person with StreamYard, right? Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you don't have to use, you know, multiple people connecting. We could still get the same perks.
Matt says, I didn't want to mispronounce his name. I thought his name was Daniel. No, it's all good. It's Dylan. You don't need to know his name though.
Dilly D over here.
Yeah, yo D. You're just D, okay? Beresford wants to say, wait, did you just say Belland?
Yep.
I want to start picking up some more of the ridiculous, not ridiculous, but some of the UK slang for things, just to throw into some casual conversation to mess with people. Belland is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Matt, very helpful response. I checked mine. The foam is in good shape. I got it for 250 shipped. Damn.
That's really good.
Guessing that's US. That is fantastic. If you get one of those under $400, you got to steal. Just like the SM58 staple mic. Yeah, I would agree with that. What?
That's fun. No, just the staple gun. You
Oh.
can't use it as a hammer.
That's
some
staple
nails
mic.
with
And technically, you probably could do staples with it.
Yeah.
Red Cab and most of my RE and PL mics are over 40, except the 320. Over 40. Holy crap. PL mics especially, I think they stopped those in the 80s, didn't they? So
No,
yeah,
I always know when I go into like a vintage space and there's certain mics that you see that the original 421, the Sennheiser MD.
Oh yeah.
Or not the non-MD.
I wish I kept one of those. I
like
had like 3 of them.
Those were good. The 58s, right? I mean, the grills get smashed to shit, but the actual microphone works fine. You know, how many
get new grills, you're fine.
Yeah, you get new grills like a Rode NT1. I mean, you'll get a lot of mileage out of a mic like that, even as long as you treat. But again, I say like treat your gear well, and it will treat you well. You will most equipment that's not like completely entry level will last a very long time. You know, I've had some weird. Well, again, I got my SSL Saga, which I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on with it, and they're like, this is weird. This is something that should last a lifetime. It's not. Why? You know, that's kind of what where the company's at with it. They're concerned because they're built to last, these things.
Yeah, and that's the thing about that's when you kind of leave that that point of entry level gear, kind of the even like the lower end of prosumer is that stuff's not made to last a whole lifetime. And before it used to be that everything prosumer was built just before the cutting edge. You know, like kind of like cutting edge last generation. And by 5 years later, you're going to need to replace it because all of the specs are not really up to par for recording gear of the time. But now we're entering this point where really, if you get a decent interface that is well soldered, all of the components are soldered properly.
As a good preamp design to minimize noise.
Exactly. You're good. You could probably last 20 years off of $500 interface that you buy right now.
Even things like cables, like, you know, what I would say about with cabling your rig is if you're using cables, like I just made some cables today, just because I realized I need to hook my Neve directly into my converters, and my converters are TRS. The Neve is XLR, so I need a couple of XLR female to and they're way the hell over there, so I'm not going to grab them. But they're made of like fat microphone cable. It's kind of what they're built for. But when I go into studios and I like commercial rigs, they're getting good quality cables, but the cables are like, you know, really brittle looking cables. Like these cables would, like, Jesus, even in some cases I've seen people use for balanced cabling like an Ethernet cable. As a TRS cable, just solder on, you know, twist a couple of the pairs together and solder on TRS cables at the end. And if you're not moving them around a ton and you're treating them gently, you can get away with some pretty ridiculous things in cabling.
Because it's copper.
It's copper. And I mean, so I would say unbalanced cables, don't fuck around with that. Unbalanced cables are an antenna. And so that is going to be a problem. But as for balanced cabling, I've done some wacky shit. My monitors are connected using Ethernet cable that has TRS connect. And so number one is their line level, right? It's going from the output of my PreSonus central station into the back of active monitors. So that it's got a high signal level on the inside of the cable. And again, they're balanced. So, you know, it's rejecting pretty much, and I'm making sure not to run it by, you know, high voltage power or anything like that. But, you know, I would say get good cables and make sure that they're made properly. The cables I made today, you know, I was careful to make sure that I'm making it in a way where the cables are not unlikely to come undone. And so just like, don't skimp out on the wiring, because that will probably be one of the first things that will go before any of your gear will go.
Yeah, no kidding. SR375, I missed this one. I would love that remote control app iPad webpage. I think, and I'm surprised touchscreens didn't stay with us, like especially touchscreen laptops. They're not really that popular anymore. Where I think because the the technology was kind of cheaply implemented with laptops. They were putting them on $700 laptops when that's a technology that you kind of want to get kind of right on, right?
Yeah.
And ViewSonic still does touchscreen monitors. I would like to see more of an emphasis on more touchscreen products in like the audio space and stuff like that. And yeah, like if we could go to more everything touchscreen, oh, that would be fantastic,
Well,
man. To get some of that gear off your desk.
in a broadcast gear rack, there's tons of
Yeah.
touchscreen stuff. A lot of the Orban stuff now, a lot of the
Yep.
codecs, like the tie line equipment, that stuff is becoming touchscreen,
And
and
it's
they're
but it's all
reliable.
higher end, right?
Yeah, and they're reliable. Like, there's like there's the capacitance type touchscreen, like your iPhone or your Android has, and then there's like pressure based touchscreens that a lot of the shittier gear has. Like, I'm sure the CQ12 looks like it's probably not capacitance; it looks like it's just pressure.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, like the Rodecaster Pro and the Rodecaster Duo, they're capacitance. Like, they're like pretty much the same screen that's on my phone, other than the resolution. And so I think as long as we stick with that tech, touchscreens can work well. My laptop is on that kind of a setup. My corporate Dell, and it works well. It's pretty
It's
reliable.
touchscreen?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, they really got away from that in kind of the mid tier of laptops. I think it's because it's the thing that started breaking. So
Yeah.
they're like, why bother?
Well, and I think too, sometimes it wasn't even that the touchscreen was bad. It's the hinge on the laptop couldn't
Yeah.
handle the constant every time somebody
Yeah.
touches the screen. And so that's actually what happened with my last Dell. Sorry, Dell, gonna think on you a little bit here, but like, the screen started flickering and getting all this raster noise. And I was just like, what is going on? And then it was some of the adhesive inside the hinge gave way, and the ribbon cable was coming out from the monitor. So they had to replace it. And the guy was just like, you don't touch it too much. And I'm like, I have to, though, because it's a touchscreen. Don't make it a touchscreen if you don't want people to touch it. Jesus.
Yeah. I love this. Oh God, never use UTP for XLR. Yeah, I don't think like unshielded anything for XLR. Unshielded anything. I mean, if you're in the audio sphere, don't use unshielded anything.
No, well, especially again
antennas then.
for something like a high impedance unimbalanced thing, like a guitar cable. I will not skimp out on guitar instrument cables. I will get the highest quality,
Yeah.
fattest instrument cables I can find, like studio quality, because they're antennas.
Yeah.
Whereas even with microphones, same thing. The voltage coming out of a microphone is so freaking low that even if it's balanced, there's a high likelihood. Like, I will say, like, foil shield all day long. Serve the microphone cable I use that's like rugged is it's like, yeah, it is Serve Shield, so it's not the best, but it is good at isolating from most things. But if you are not moving the cable around a lot, foil shield all the way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, especially if you're running through the walls and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah, well, that's it. The engineers came to me and they said, for the new studios that we're building, we're not running audio between rooms. And I said, I can't blame you.
why not? Why aren't they running in between rooms?
Because they don't want the pain in the ass of having to deal with isolating audio lines from digital lines. So they're going to have nodes, right? Because it's a digital first radio station. So everything's going to be AES 67. Everything's going to be Livewire. So they're going to have some analog to digital nodes in our rooms, then one in the booth. So they're not going to run straight audio lines between studios. It's all going to be over IP.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's starting to kind of take over. And like, I mean, even with Mackie running NDI, that whole idea of using
every major market radio station now, every single one is they run on Livewire, either Axia, the Axia network, or the WheatNet. Everything is done through that because it eliminates the pain in the ass of, again, having to rely on signal integrity going through cable troughs with 6,000 lines on it.
Yeah.
And power and stuff. So it eliminates such a headache. Yes, there's quality degradation with it, but for broadcast, not enough that it's going to make a huge impact.
Mark Shed Talk. Can you recommend any webcams with HDMI output to go into an ATEM Mini? I don't know of any that go through. Does the Elgato one?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're getting one, it's not gonna be like an Amazon job. It'll have to be like
no. The face cam is the one of the best webcams that you can get is going to be going to be an Action Cam, one of the like newer generations and I believe they are HDMI outs or they're USB-C. And I know that the A10 Mini doesn't have USB-C inputs for that, so it's tough, man. I don't know. I'm not a big small webcam guy. I have an old webcam that I was using. What did I use? Oh, I used that for the mainstream video, and it's just a piece of crap 1080p webcam. I've always used a DSLR, so I'm not really, yeah, and that's SR375. Better to use a mirrorless body like Sony or Nikon where you can get real glass. And this is the thing, Mark. I'm guessing you're Mark since Mark Shed Talk. The amount of money you spend on a good webcam, because you got to remember, one of the things about webcams is there's no depth of field, like kind of like cell phones. There's no depth of field with cell phones, so it's kind of like a flat image. Whereas here, you can see behind me, my guitar is a little blurred out. The light's a little bit blurred out on this side.
Yeah, there's some bokeh.
There's bokeh. It's not a ton because I'm actually not that far away from the back of my studio. But when you do webcam, it's going to be a very flat and kind of unflattering image. When you go for a DSLR with decent glass, you do get a much better picture, but you also, fun enough, it's not that much more expensive. You can get the Sony A series. If you're just going for a 1080p camera, you can get some pretty cheap cameras that aren't that much more expensive than a webcam. And I definitely would go for something like that. I think Nexigo has a webcam with HDMI, but SR375 is correct. Yeah, or correct. On action cams, you need to watch out for the latency when using HDMI. I did not know that about the HDMI on action cams. USB outs. I haven't used an A10 Mini in forever. I forget what their inputs are like. So get a low end body, spend on glass. Yeah, and you don't even need to spend that much on glass, man. The only problem is you need relative wide angle, or else if you have a crop sensor camera, which if you're going low end, you're going to have a crop sensor camera. That means everything's cropped in. So if you get a 50 millimeter, you got to put that camera like 10 feet away from you to get a shot of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Zoom Q2N 4K has HDMI mini out. That is right. I forgot about the Q2N, the Zoom Q2N. I wanted to look at one of those. I can't speak on how good it is. Thank you for that this stupendous Chumley. I appreciate that. I do actually want to get those. We'll see if Zoom will still work with me after next week. Dear Chunky, EOS M with speed booster under an EF 20 to 35 is super sharp, and the extra stop of light makes it 20 to 35 real creamy. Yeah. That's the M series. That's the wire or the mirrorless. I haven't gotten into any of the EOS mirrorless, but they have like the M50 and they're relatively cheap. So Nikon Z6, no man, Sony full frame, baby. Especially for if you're a YouTuber, man. Oh, it's everybody's going Sony. Be one of the cool kids. I'm just saying. That's my go-to setup on the EOS M. Nice. All right, guys. We've been a little over an hour. I appreciate everybody coming out. I take it everybody's like, yeah, do 2 videos a week. So we'll start doing that, I think.
Oh, put out the poll. Put out, see what kind of things are resonating to people.
I imagine people are like, nah, man, once a week's fine.
So, oh, yeah.
We don't need to see more of you guys. DJ Play Nice. Cheers, buddy. Thanks for coming out. Discontinued now. Great for hacking. Nice. All right, guys. Have yourself a good night. And we'll see you next week for the live stream videos. Remember, 3 videos coming out next week. So have a great week.
It'll be a good week.